Hej på dig och välkommen till svart metal from Sweden, Sverige. That is black metal from Sweden, if you don't understand this very international language. This band is quite a new one, actually made to Metal Archive site only in the beginning of this month. Because, well, Seer of Gallows is very fresh, straight from the ovens of Sweden. And this one is the debut album called Entropy of Holocene. Now, because of the album wasn't actually present before the start of this month, I didn't even do the video until it was really there, because there's no rush. And my calendar has been pretty full for whole June and July until this very moment that this is finally being done on the early days of July 2021. And no rush with these kind of albums. It hardly missed to arrive here before my vacation, and as such I really couldn't show you the video and do it before the release date. So a little bit late, but then again, we're talking about underground release, so I guess it shouldn't matter too much. As you can see, this debut album doesn't feature any kind of lineup, no information whatsoever, which explains the very next thing I'm about to show you here on Metal Archive site. That is, all we know pretty much is that Seer of Gallows comes from Sweden, but when it comes to members list, no members mentioned. And there is no actual, place of origin for this place, no more than just being Sweden. And there is no other information except that it says it's been founded in 2020. So in essence, the only thing we know is the name of the album, the name of the band, and the label, and the country of origin, Sweden. Now, many people, I think, aside from me as well, know that Swedish black metal sound is, usually the melodic kind of it. Even though there are lots of more raw kind of bands, bands like Arcanum and the like, but so many bands coming from Sweden and operating around black metal, I mean, unless they are Bathory, of course, they tend to have this more melodic outcome, and usually the kind of a crispier sound, one could say the somewhat second wave 1990s black metal sound. And so many Swedish bands, good or otherwise, tend to have this habit of being boxed very much in the same way as your typical Swedish bands, coming from the same garden, if not exactly the same root or tree. However, Seer of Gallows is kind of an exception to this rule, and it's an interesting one because, to be honest, I find it to sound more like a combination of death metal and black metal. Surely, mostly, there are lots of black metal elements here when it comes to riffs, and certain kind of atmosphere being very dark, sinister, and all that stuff. But I'll be honest about it. When I was first listening this, for the first couple of times actually, to me it struck more like some kind of a death metal album with a black metal influence maybe. And this idea then became totally different when I was noticing, okay, this is labeled here as black metal, and I was like, very interesting. And when I, took a visit to the band's Bandcamp site, well, actually it was labeled Bandcamp site, he was saying, okay, just black metal from Sweden and all that stuff, and I was like, kind of weird. And this kind of proves how different people can hear different things coming from different bands and albums. So some people are totally like, and maybe the band guys as well, like pure black metal. But for me, it was quite a different. And I'm not saying that my opinion is the truth, obviously. It's just an opinion and kind of a gut feeling. But some people are definitely thinking this is purely black metal, and they have no idea why I'm talking about death metal feeling here. But I'll try to elaborate what I'm talking about. I'll try to elaborate why I'm getting that feeling. And that basically comes down to two major things on this album. Now, make no mistake, this album is as dark as it comes. It's kind of a heavy, and it's, very sinister in nature. And that is something that could apply both to death metal and black metal, as well as other genres, but, mainly these two extreme genres. But where it actually gives me this death metallic feeling is because of the production. I mean, it's closer to Swedish death metal production so many ways than your typical black metal production. And when it comes to the riffs, some of these are just something that could fall in the either category, or more importantly, something that is often called just black and death metal. Now what takes me even more on the death metal side is the tempo, which is quite diverse, but this band never gets too fast. It's not about blast beats and, you know, going all Marduk or Dark Funeral kind of thing, but actually having these slow and mid-tempo parts, which then again combined with this given production gives me very, very much like this almost like death doom kind of approach, but once again with this dark blackened feeling. So could we call this a blackened death metal or black metal with death influences? It doesn't really matter. In my opinion, this kind of approves. This is a good album in that sense, that it kind of approves that sometimes these definitions are like drawn in water. Sometimes it's hard to tell whether this both belongs more into one side or the other, or if it's just right in the middle. And that's the beauty of any kind of art. But here, especially when we're talking about extreme metal, it's so cool to kind of figure out that if you take one angle, it shows you this one side, which can be said, yeah, it's black metal. But from another angle, it's kind of like death metal. And that is where this album is very much flirting with both sides, even if from the band's perspective or the label's perspective, it's clearly one or the other. Now, be this may, I think what is really fantastic with this album is that it's, you know, having feet on both sides of the road, and it's having this very, very atmospheric, evil, sinister, dark feeling, very oppressing and also. Now, where it actually lacks, and why it's the reason why I'm not calling it really a great album, just more like pretty good, is that this is not very catchy an album. It's not very memorable one when it comes to individual riffs and songs. Maybe it's just me, but, you know, it resonates to me. I mean, for the genre and for the atmosphere and the sound and all that stuff, it kind of gives me vibes. Okay, like, welcome, Jerry, this is right up your alley. But it kind of leaves in a, like midways, and so I'm not exactly disappointed, but I was kind of like looking for even more, and that's kind of a hard thing to do. I mean, whenever you do an album and you think you have all the ingredients, are you really done with it, or should you push for so-called 110%, even if it's in essence might be that 100%, and what you think is that 100% is actually something like 85. I don't know. I don't have the absolute answer to that. But like I said, my problem with Entropy of Holocene is that it's almost like a good album for me. It's mostly a good album for me, but it kind of lacks the hooks that go under my skin and make me come back for more. So it's like one of those craft beers. I have a bottle or two, and then I'm like, okay, it was pretty good, but I'm not gonna buy a 24-pack that for, you know, my home use, because it's not that good. So once again, it's kind of a tricky pony. But because of this very interesting nature of the album, I definitely like to see people listening to this one. It might not be for everybody, and maybe it's just too many things on this album for everybody. But it's definitely an interesting one, and these guys have something very interesting in the making. Maybe the next album will be the one that I was kind of hoping this one to be. I don't know. Once again, I have no answer for that. But it's an interesting release, and it kind of adds a layer of interest because this nature of the band and the album is kind of a mystic. No lineup, no names, just music and lyrics and this ominous cover. So, give Seer of Gallows a chance, and who knows, maybe this will be your next favorite. Meanwhile, take care and listen to some good shit.